Yes, people, welcome back to the Tone Show. Big show for you today, man. We've got some transfer talk about potential new winger coming into the football club and, of course, previewing tomorrow's huge game. Don't get it twisted. It is Bournemouth. We slapped them up in the home game. We usually slap them up anyway, but this is high pressure. We have to win the football match. And there's a lot to discuss. If you fancy a shout out, then get yes in the chat. We'll shout some of you guys out. Please make sure you smash the like button. It really helps support the channel. And two, make sure you are subscribed. We've got Sarah Ainsworth. We've got Tristan. We've got Lars, Paul, Harry's here. Big up to Dash, Itchy Goat. Big up to Dugout, 9320 City. Big up to Suvik, Rachel, Karl's here, Russ, Robert, Johns, Blue Tone. I assume, is that you?
Yeah.
Big up to
Shout out. Sorry,
shout out yourself. Big up to Ildunican, Jackson. Big up to Dev, Craig, Karl. I think that's pretty much everyone's. Chris is here, Sam, Isaac. Good to see you guys. Thank you very much for joining. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. And make sure you guys have smashed the like button. Really helps support the channel. Tone, some transfer news. I mean, listen, when you get to this part of the season, February, March, this for me is where you really start getting the transfer news, because as we know, transfers don't just happen all of a sudden in June and July. A lot of the work is done behind the scenes in February, March, April. Proof of that, the Erling Haaland one was the biggest example, because we basically seen everything happening in real time in February, March, and April. Tom is coming out this morning. I'm interested to get your take on this, and if you've heard anything about this as well. Is Manchester City are looking at PEDRO Neto. PEDRO Neto's been absolutely fantastic for Wolves this season. You'd expect there to be a high level of interest, not just with City, obviously other clubs as well in the Premier League and around Europe. He's got 3 goals, but 11 assists in 19 matches for Wolves as well. Tom is saying that Wolves winger PEDRO Neto could be Manchester City's first signing of the summer. The interest is very real, and both the player and his agent are pushing for a move to the Etihad Stadium. Liverpool are also interested as well. What's your take on PEDRO Neto? I like him.
Yeah, big fan. Yeah, whenever I've seen him, he's been good. His injury record's a bit suspect. I think from what I've seen, he's had 3 significant injuries since about, if I keep looking here, it's because I've got a couple of notes, so I am prepped. Since around 2020, oh, here you go, you've got one here. So there you go, 3 significant ones since about 2020. That real bad one, which was, how long was that, nearly 300 days there, with a knee injury. So there's things with injuries, but his best season has been this season. So he's hopefully got over those problems, and he's now showing what a star player he is, and why City have been interested in him before and tried to sign him before, which was, I can't tell you when exactly, but City have been interested in him before. But I tweeted out yesterday around Neto something about City's interest. I can't remember exactly what. It's only a quick thing. And there's been talk about Neto since the last window. The interest is reportedly absolutely genuine. City definitely in for him, and this one could be done hopefully fairly quickly. The agent, as you said, transfers stuff's always going on. Agents don't just work in the summer and January. They're on it now. He will want Neto to get that move, and Neto absolutely wants City. So, and you can't blame him for that, and would increase our options on the right. I would be very, very, very excited with this one. And yeah, it just improves the squad, and in a position, I think, a position of need, which is the right.
You know what it is, though? Like, I like PEDRO Neto, but I actually really don't think he's the style of player that I thought we would have been interested in. You know, if you look at someone like Riyad Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Oscar Bob Grealish, PEDRO Neto doesn't really fall into that. I thought he was sort of like Liverpool-esque type player, where he's really direct, really quick, and not really Manchester City style. But he's certainly a fantastic player. I really, really like him, and it would be interesting to see him to come to City. But I am surprised, and I'd be interested to know what the chat thinks about this as well. Are you surprised that City are linked with PEDRO Neto in the sense of his style? Because he really doesn't seem like a Manchester City style player. Now, I know people will say, well, LB, we have just signed Jamie Docker, and he doesn't really seem much of a Manchester City style. We've signed Savio. Now, I think Savio will be loaned out next season, but we signed Savio. He doesn't necessarily fall into that category. So Two questions, really. One, are you maybe surprised that Manchester City are in for someone like Pedro Neto? He doesn't really fall into that sort of Mahrez, Bernardo, Grealish, Bob bracket. And or two, is this maybe highlighting maybe a change of style from Pep Guardiola, that he signed Doku, we've signed Savio, and now we're in for Neto? Could Pep Guardiola now be looking to sort of revolutionise the way he plays the game yet again?
Surprised, maybe a little. I mean, we have been linked with him before. In terms of the style, he is more Doku than anyone else in terms of who we've got. It does actually remind me a little bit of Mahrez, certainly when I've seen him against us. There is something about the way he plays. It may be the skills and so on. Mahrez, unbelievable skills and ability and control. So I think he actually has a bit of that, as well as the explosive stuff. Like you said, there's no surprise, that Liverpool are in. And somebody mentioned Juventus as well. So there will be many clubs in for him. I think the price being banded around is about 80 million, which I don't think anyone's going to be paying that. That'll be someone from Wolves throwing it up high. It'll probably end up around 60, somewhere around that area, wherever he goes. But to answer the first question, not overly surprised, because I do see bits of Mahrez and stuff in him. I don't know if people on the chat agree or are going, what on earth? And yet, Doku surprised me, because last summer, as many people remind me, all I was saying all summer was, City aren't going to sign a fast winger, in my opinion. That was just my view. Pep likes this new way, he likes fullbacks like a Kanji now and all this sort of thing, Grealish. It's not the way. And when suddenly, I think it was probably that Romano chap messaged out saying, oh, by the way, City are looking at Doku and that's going to happen type thing. It's like, what? Really? So that more surprised me then. And as we're seeing with Doku, it's taken him a bit of time. He's still raw, his end product. He's a good player, but and we can see he's good. He's got potential. But I think Neto is a little bit more refined.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Than Doku. I think he's more City ready than Doku. I think, I know this isn't to put down Doku. I think he's going to be brilliant, but I think Neto would be playing perhaps a lot more and be relied upon more in that position that he can play than Doku is currently.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, if we just take another look at Neto's injury record, he's, how old is he? He is 23, so he's pretty young. So he's had some injuries, hasn't he? He's only 23 years old, and he's had what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 injuries already at 23 years old. 2 really significant ones there with the ankle injury in October 2022 till February 2023, and then obviously the knee injury just before that as well, April 2021 to February 2022. More recently, he's just had 2 months out with a hamstring injury. October to basically Christmas Day, missed 9 games. Before that, there's a few injuries before that, but I wouldn't be too overly worried about the injuries coming in before that. You got a 3-day spell there, 2 weeks, 20 days, another 2 weeks, 25 days. Listen, it's not ideal, it's not the perfect scenario, but not particularly great. Another thing actually on the injuries, and my mate texted me today, actually, it was a very good point, is that we have signed injury-prone players before. One thing that City do is we really do manage players with injuries very well. I mean, if you think about Erling Haaland, when we signed Erling Haaland, there was a lot of people maybe worried about his injury record. We signed Ilkay Gundogan. He wasn't particularly too fit. He was always sort of injury prone. In fact, we actually signed him injured, if you remember, because City don't need to spam the same player. I mean, the perfect example of this, and I always go back to this because I think it's just the perfect example, is the Harry Kane scenario at Tottenham. And everyone always used to say, oh, his ankles are made of glass. His ankles are made of glass. And I kind of debunked the myth, really, about Harry Kane, because if you actually looked at his record, soon as he come back from injury, he was straight back in the team. He wasn't on the bench and eased in like we did with Kevin De Bruyne. He was straight back in the team, and he was just playing 90 minutes again. There was no proper management of the player. Why? Because a team like Tottenham couldn't afford to properly manage Harry Kane, because they needed him to be straight back into the side. We're not that desperate. We can afford to properly manage players.
Yes.
Of course, we do still get injuries. That doesn't mean that we don't get injuries, but I wouldn't be too worried about that. I mean, listen, the knee injury, you got to do your proper checks in the medical and make sure that his knee is still functioning properly. I'd say with the ankle. But what I've seen from him this season, he's looked absolutely incredible. He's got a contract until 2027. 80 million does seem a little high. However, at the end of the day, is Wolves player, and they can sort of demand whatever fee they want. They're sort of in the power position there. So, before we move on to Bournemouth, do you think that we get Pedro Neto? Do you think that we sign Pedro Neto? If you have to say, you think we do?
Yeah, normally I'm cautious, and I get asked, and it's lovely people ask me, to be honest, and I do get asked a lot. I've had questions about Neto quite a lot this week, and Kimmich is just constant. But Neto, yeah, I do, because the links, it's more the links have been there before. We've all heard a few bits. I know Tommy's messaged out this morning, which is really cool. It just makes sense to me, and like you just said, the price tag, if there's competition from Liverpool and Juventus, and I think there's maybe one of the German clubs were linked possibly in January, then it could end up around that price, because like you said, Wolves can charge what they want. They say, well, we want 150 million tomorrow, and it's their player. Obviously, you might get into a Nunes situation where they wanted, and then I believe he didn't turn up for training or something, didn't he? To force
he went AWOL, didn't he?
Yeah, it's a bit naughty, not keen on that. But yes, to answer your question, yes, I think we will sign Neto. I don't know that. I just think we will. I can see him at City. It just makes sense to me, absolutely, and would be a great signing. Would be delighted with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up to Off Meta with the donation. Says want Kimmich and Wirtz. Everybody else is secondary. Says Off Meta Professor. Well, Kimmich would be amazing. Obviously, I don't know if you've seen the news Off Meta, but as soon as they announced that Tuchel is leaving at the end of the season, there was then rumours coming out that Kimmich is now going to sign a new contract at Bayern Munich, which is, of course, was always a risk. That's why I've been saying for some time that City should be on to Kimmich now, trying to get him to sort of agree to join Manchester City, regardless of what happens with the manager. But that is now looking probably slightly less likely to happen based off the fact that Tuchel's leaving. But there's still a chance. Maybe he's had enough of Germany. He's been there, all his life. He's now 28, 29. Wirtz, I have a feeling that Wirtz is going to stay at Leverkusen for one more season and then make a move next year. I think that he'll try and help retain the title. I think he wants 1 year in the Champions League with Leverkusen, and then he will move. I just have a hunch he's not going to move this year. But Wirtz is obviously a fantastic player. And if that happens, then maybe we could strike next year, because obviously Kevin De Bruyne at that point would be, 34, 35? So that would be a pretty good time to sign someone like Wirtz. But 2 good players there Off Meta. Big up for the super chat. Guys, make sure you have smashed the like button if you've not done so already. We're closing in now on 200 people live watchers. If you are watching back, if you're watching back now on replay, of course, give us your comments down below. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes. We need 20 people out of 200 to hit that thumbs up button. Let's get those likes up. Make sure you're following Tone on Twitter/X at MCFC Tone. Right, let's come on to the Bournemouth game. This is a huge weekend of football, Tone. I mean, we played before. I said last week, I've said it for some time, I think that I'd rather play first when you're in these title battles. We've got a fantastic record against Bournemouth. Granted, we've only played them 20 times in our 100 and odd years existence, but we've never lost against Bournemouth, only drawing twice, coming in 1989 in Division 2 and in 1999 in Division 2 as well, with a 3-3 draw at 0-0. Other than that, we've got a good record against them.
We have. Sorry, I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt. I remember the 3-3. I remember that 3-3. I would have been 8 years old when that was on. And I remember that because someone will correct me here, but I think we were 3 up. And I remember being like, ugh, and then we ended 3-3. I'm sure we were 3 up against Bournemouth that day.
Should I try and find out?
Yeah. See if you can. If that is a memory. There's certain games around from when I was 8, 9 years old that I remember, and that was one. The one where we beat United 5-1, obviously, as well. But I'm sure we were 3 up in that game.
Yeah, we were 3 up.
Were we? Yeah, there you go. So I actually recall that. So, but yeah, times have changed. I think it's 14 straight for City wins against Bournemouth, which includes one League Cup, I think. Is that right? I know there was another draw you had on there. See, you can see I've done my prep, mate. You see, I've told you, I've got my pad here. Look at this. Look.
Very good, man. Very good. Our record against them is crazy. And if you look at them as well, like we often score quite a few goals. Got 6, 4, 4, 3, 3, 4, 4. Because, you know, credit to Bournemouth. They're actually, I mean, I say credit. You know, there's only so much just goals because we beat them every single time. But they actually try and play football against us. Like, you know, usually they've never come to the Etihad and sat on the edge of the penalty area. They might sit there if we force them back, but they don't. They never have a game plan just to come and sit back. Even at their own stadium, they'll never sit back and just try and absorb pressure. They actually try and play football. Now, it's not worked out for them, but like they've come closer. They have come close a few times. You know what I mean? But like I say, this is a big game because I was saying before. Last week, we didn't play before everyone else. And I said to everyone last week, I said, actually, playing at half 12 is probably the best thing because you get your job done and then you sit back and wait for everyone else. And that's what Liverpool done. They beat Brentford in the morning, watched Arsenal, watched City, no pressure. Whereas we watched Liverpool win, we watched Arsenal win, and then the pressure was on. Whereas this week, it's different because we play first. Then Arsenal play against Newcastle. And of course, Liverpool are playing in the Cup, so they've not actually got a game. So this is a perfect opportunity, Tom, to put the pressure back on Arsenal. And obviously catch up with Liverpool because obviously they played on Wednesday.
Yes, absolutely. And we spoke about this last week. I prefer playing first. Like you said, Arsenal are on Saturday night against Newcastle, which is good because I'd rather us play first, hopefully get the win and make it, I think, 15 straight or whatever it is. I mean, the last 3 games are 14-2 to City. So it certainly sides with us. But it is an enormous game. Every game is now to the end. But Liverpool are playing with confidence. They're on fire at the moment, even with the injuries. Okay, it's Luton. It doesn't matter. They still won, added a few to the goal difference. You cannot give Liverpool and Arsenal any sort of leverage to build up confidence or even more confidence in Liverpool's case. Because if you slip up, Liverpool are just going to go wild. I think we cannot give Liverpool anything. We have to put Liverpool under pressure, get a point behind tomorrow and say, right, we've done our job. We've done it. Oh, here you go. Yeah, you got the table up. So get in there. People will say, oh, we need to get the goal difference. And that's fine, but it's a secondary point for me. It's 3 points at the moment. We'll worry about goal difference if we're on the last day of the season or what have you. And Haaland needs 3 goals and all this sort of stuff. Get the points. If someone said now 1-0, you'll beat Bournemouth 1-0, 85th minute penalty, I'll take it all day long.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, get the points. Enormous game. Very intrigued to see what Pep says shortly. I don't know if he's on at half 12 or half 1, but intrigued to see what he says with like De Bruyne and who's fit. It's like you said, it's an enormous game, and get that gap from Arsenal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on the points thing. Listen, goal difference is something that I think we need to have in the back of our mind, but you only have it in the back of your mind, and it really comes to the front when you're maybe 2-0 up and the game's looking pretty secure. You don't think of it before the game, because I really just don't think you go into football matches at professional level and go, oh yeah, today we're not just winning, we're going to try and win 6-0. No. You try and win the game first and foremost. Yes. And if you deploy your tactics correctly and the players play well, then these are the games that you will end up winning 5-6-0. You don't go into a game thinking, right, we need to win 6-0, so this is out. No. That's the wrong way of approaching it. So I agree with you in terms of we just need to win. That goal difference is a slight concern to me. Because we are so far behind, and of course you never know, it could come down to it on the last day of the season. You really don't want to lose a title on goal difference. That would be really frustrating. And to be honest with you, like, we've not really thumped anyone this year in the Premier League. You know what I mean? Like last year there was quite a few. I mean, obviously Bournemouth took a little bit of an L earlier in the season, but other than that, there's really not been a big scoreline. So I would like there to be quite a few goals, just get us a little bit closer to Liverpool. But if we can win the game, go to 59 points, we'll be a point behind Liverpool, and that puts tremendous pressure on Arsenal, who play after City So they would have seen our scoreline,
Yeah.
to put some huge pressure on Arsenal to win the game. Now, of course, we've got to do our own job first, because obviously if we drop points, then the pressure really turns to an incentive for Arsenal to say that we can leapfrog Manchester City if City lose or draw the game. But if City do win the football match, and you'd like to think we do, we've got a fantastic record against Bournemouth, and like I say, hopefully we do win the game. That pressure for Arsenal. Remember, they played away in Champions League on Wednesday night. A very, very disappointing result, a taxing performance in terms of the mental fatigue. They've only had 2 days rest, and now they're playing a huge game against Newcastle. Newcastle have not had a game this week, so they're going to be fully fresh for this. And Newcastle, really, the incentive for Newcastle this weekend is to really sort of destroy Arsenal's hopes, because if Arsenal lose, there'll be 5 points. Forget City. There'll be 5 points behind Liverpool with 12 games to go. And they don't play Liverpool again, which I don't actually think is necessarily a good thing when you're trying to catch them. So a huge weekend in the Premier League zone.
Yeah, it is. Arsenal can't slip up. I mean, it's as simple as that. They're not in a position to, because they don't have a history of then going on a run. Whereas if we do, which I hope we don't, we have a history where we can say, well, City are capable of winning the last, what would it be after tomorrow, 11. So I think Arsenal don't have that. And the fact they've, like you've just said there, they've gone to Portugal, disappointing performance, although I didn't see it, but from what I've heard, a disappointing result. Like you said, the fatigue. They're now having to play these big crunch games every few days. There's no relax now. There is no chill out. Liverpool will know this. It's every 3-4 days. Every single game is a must win for all of those three. Arsenal, to me, don't, and I'm basing this purely on what I've seen previously with them, is they don't have the mentality. Liverpool do. They've proven they do to go on runs. I don't think Arsenal do. So if we win, we'll see how they deal with it, because Newcastle will be fired up as well. And Newcastle have some very, very, very good players. And they've had a disappointing season so far, I would say, dropping out the Champ League. And where are they now? 7th, 8th, somewhere around that area in the Prem.
Yeah,
that's disappointing for Newcastle. So they need to be better, and Eddie Howe needs to be better and have them players better. But it's a big game for them as well as Arsenal, because if Newcastle want any sort of hope of, well, top 4 is possibly gone, but European football, they need to pick up. And Newcastle, like us when we started, are trying to continue on the upward. Well, they finished in the top 4 last year. They're likely not going to this year. If they're not in Europe, they're then going to struggle to get players. You then struggle to bring the money in to get those players. So they're going to be stuck. So it's a massive game for Newcastle and Arsenal tomorrow. It should be an absolute, really good game. Newcastle, especially under Howe, tend to be quite fun to watch as a neutral, because like you said with Bournemouth, when he managed them, and we've played Bournemouth, and it is marvellous when he does it. He tends to turn up and go, "Oh, we'll go toe to toe with you." And it's like, "Oh, okay, that's."
He didn't do that last year though at the Emirates, did he? He shithoused it and got a 0-0.
He did.
Hopefully he'll do that again, because a 0-0 will be a decent result. But listen, I want to come on to a predicted 11. I believe you've done your research. You had to think about it, and you're not going to be swayed by myself or the chat. Despite our attempts, we will try and get you to change your 11. We are going to go through a starting 11. My starting 11 for tomorrow's game against Bournemouth, and Tone's as well. I remind you guys, please make sure you drop a like on the stream if you've not done so already. Over 230 people tuned in now. And please make sure you are subscribed, and make sure you are following Tone as well on Twitter at MCFC Tone. Right. You give your starting 11, Tone, back to front, and then I'll let you know where I sort of disagree.
Right, you try and change my mind, and give it 5 minutes, and you probably have. Okay, here we go. Right, Edison, obviously in goal. If he's fit, he's in goal every Premier League game. What have I got down here? Now then, this is where things get a bit tasty. Right, I'm going Akanji.
Okay, not Kyle Walker. What are your thoughts on that? Why have you decided to go for Akanji, not Walker?
Firstly, he was man of the match in my view in the week. At left, I know he didn't play right, but he's fullback. Oh, I was so impressed with Akanji. I thought he was unbelievable in midweek. get him in again. I think I'd have him in at right for this game. I'll come on to this fairly obviously. I'm going to put a left, but I would have Akanji right. I think Karl Walker, good player, great signing and all that. But I think he needs a rest. I think he needs a time out of the team. I think he's switching off. He had a good little run. We've said it recently, 2 or 3 games where it looked like he's just starting to switch a little bit against Chelsea and so on. So maybe give Walker the day off, or certainly part of the game off, and Akanji. So
to be fair as well, Tone, he's our second most played player by minutes, Karl Walker. So he probably is due a rest at some point.
Yeah, that's it. So I think Walker. I think this is a good game for Walker to step out of. I don't think Bournemouth have masses of pace. I don't think Solanke's particularly quick. Is it Sinistera, the guy they bought off Leeds? I think
they have a bit of. I don't think like that they're proper rapid, but I think they have a little bit of pace up top. No, I don't think it's like Aaron Lennon thing. You know what I mean? But
no,
I think they have a bit. And by the way, Akanji's not slow.
No, he's definitely. In fact, he's a lot quicker than he sort of looks. When you see him moving about, he's quite slow and laborious, but he's not at all. No, Akanji at right. I'd have Akanji there, and I've always been a fan of Akanji. I love him. I think he's a brilliant player. 16 million, mate. 16 million.
Yeah, I know. Man. Absolute steal, isn't
it? Massive. 2 centre backs, Diaz and Stones.
Oh, okay.
I'm not bothered who's fit. We are very, very lucky to have the options we have. And whoever plays in there, I'm happy. Those 2 are my 2 favourites together, Diaz and Stones. Love them both.
Okay.
Diaz a leader, Stones steps up. Love it. Left Ake against his old club.
Yeah, no real options at left back, unfortunately, unless you decide to play Akanji there. But I don't know why you do that when Ake's fit.
Yeah, that's it. Ake had a break in the week. He'll be playing, and it's FA Cup, so it's more than likely that Ake will have another break in the week and be ready for
United.
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. I'm just looking at my notes here. Well, Rodri, obviously.
Yeah, we're doing well on the old yellow cards. Sony is now officially, providing he doesn't get an actual red card or injury, he will play against Liverpool. Also, I don't know if you see my tweet, but the Brighton game that we play before Arsenal, that will be moved if either Brighton or Man City get through to the next round of the FA Cup, meaning that's really good actually, because it means that Arsenal is bumped up 1. So if he goes tomorrow without a yellow card, I believe I'm right in saying that he will be available for the Arsenal game as well. Let's have a look.
Oh, yeah, please, yeah.
Yes, if he doesn't get a yellow card tomorrow, he would be available for Arsenal if he avoids yellow card tomorrow. So he'll be available. If he avoids yellow card tomorrow, he'll be available for Man United, Liverpool, and Arsenal, providing that Man City or Brighton get through the next FA Cup game, because then the FA Cup game, because then that Brighton game gets moved and Arsenal gets bumped up 1. So he's doing, you know what? He's on a 5-match streak without a yellow card.
Yes.
I think a lot of people in the chat agree with me that you can visibly see that he's not doing half as many of the tactical fouls that he was doing earlier in the season, because he clearly knows about this tough test that we're about to go through. He is probably getting a little bit closer to having a little bit more leeway with that. He probably can afford to take maybe 1. But if he can try and avoid 1 tomorrow, that guarantees him available for Man United, Liverpool, and Arsenal, providing again the FA Cup game is played there. And then if he gets 1 more, which is unlikely because that means he's got to go Bournemouth and Man United, he'll also be available for Aston Villa. So we're really now in that part of the season, a part of the fixture list with Rodri, where every game now that he goes through without a yellow card is really, really beneficial.
It's enormous, and that's brilliant. We've been following, haven't we, a few weeks on it and saying how many yellows is he going to get a yellow?
Yeah, I've been on this since like December, mate.
He's so key, and that's why we do it, because we're worried. We're not worried about, no offense to the other players, we don't follow that particularly. Rodri, we always do, and he is key. He must play at Anfield. It looks as if he's going to. He won't play against Luton anyway in the week, I doubt. So getting fresh, ready for the Rags will give them a good hiding, hopefully. Then it's Copenhagen. He may not start that one, maybe play an hour. Then we'll go and give Liverpool good hiding at Anfield. It's going to happen. You can click that as well. Okay. No, don't, because I know I'll regret it. Right, who's next? And we've got Rodri in there. I had to change this next one. Now, when I say change it, I don't mean I've gone against my word. It's because of injury. So I don't think De Bruyne will play tomorrow.
No, I don't either.
No, and I had him in earlier in the week. I will put Bernardo in, please,
Bernardo in midfield, yeah?
Put Bernie on the right, please. Sorry, Bernie on the right.
What, right, like this or right wing?
Yeah, right side. Yeah, where you are now. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Right wing.
Yes, please. Yeah. Excuse me. So, yeah, just to say on De Bruyne, because I know I've never been asked more about a player ever than De Bruyne this week because of the training info that's coming out. He did train partially yesterday. I think a few other accounts have said the same. He did train partially yesterday. Did not do full total training. They are going to be so wary with him. He could come on. He might start. Pep might come on now and say, no, we're fine. We're happy with him. Right, great. I hope so. But what I've heard is he's very unlikely to start. In fact, the person who I spoke to said, I asked chances and they said 20-80. So in their view of what they've heard. So it's unlikely, not impossible. So I don't think De Bruyne will play, and they will manage his minutes very, very carefully. I wouldn't even be surprised if you don't see him till the Rag game. But let's hope he comes on anyway. So sorry, I go off on one there again. In the middle, Kovacic. I love Kovacic.
Okay.
I love him. I thought he looked good. I know it was cameo at the end of that. I thought he looked great again in the week against Brentford. I just think he's fantastic, mate. Absolutely love him. So let's go Kovacic in there. Now, the reason I've gone Kovacic is to help Rodri. Kovacic, will help Rodri cover so much ground. He'll help do some of the dirty work. That is why I think it is absolutely. In fact, I would say it's as essential Kovacic plays this weekend as anybody other than Rodri in that midfield. So I really hope he starts tomorrow. So Kovacic there. Foden in the middle as well, please.
Yeah.
He's been playing a lot recently. He probably won't start the FA Cup game. I expect Núñez will instead. So Foden will start. He's on fire. One of the best, I was going to say young players, sod that. He's one of the best players on the planet, Phil Foden. End of, not the, but it's certainly in that group. He will start. It's a massive game. Foden plays. Now then, on the left.
This is the big one.
I was to and fro, and I will be honest. I know I messaged you a couple of days ago saying, mate, I've done it. I've done my own work. I am ready for this 11. And then a day later, I went, oh, shit, what about that left? Sorry, my language. So, Oscar Bob.
On that left. Oh, okay. Give us your thoughts behind Oscar Bob.
I like Doku. I know he has big fans. So, anyone in the chat or messages me after, I like him. But I was quite impressed with Bob. I thought he had in the first half the other day, City weren't particularly great, but I thought he did pretty well in tight spaces, did a couple of runs. I'll be honest, he did more threatening things going forward in that first half than anyone else did against Brentford. I think he deserves another go. I think he brings a calmness. His positioning's good. That's something I'm always spotting. The same thing with Núñez as well. I like his positioning. I think he deserves a go. Why not? He deserves as much as a go as anybody else out there on the left. If Grealish was fit, I'd probably pick Grealish. But yeah, I'd give Bob a go. I don't see why not. It's Bournemouth. It's a big game. I think he can handle it, and I like him a lot. Also, he's either signed or about to sign his contract. So,
yeah, I believe that's great news. Yeah, I seen that last night. Jack Gordon confirming that he's about to sign a new big contract, which is good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob. And then I guess you're playing Alvarez up top, yeah?
No.
No. Okay.
No, the big man. Yeah, Haaland.
There we go.
So now I know what people are going to say. Alvarez has started every bloody game. So he has, and fair play to the guy. He's
This would be the first game that he's not started in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I think this will be the first game he will start. Not start in the Premier League. I think he looks a bit tired, a bit jaded. I know the positional talk, we've discussed it, and I know you've been on with Nobbins and stuff saying about it. So I think bring Alvarez out for this one. I like that 11. I really like that one. I'm very confident in that one. Like the one last week when I was to and fro in and all that, I wasn't, as you could tell. This one I like. I think it has a nice balance. You could argue a bit of pace, maybe missing. We haven't really got, other than Doku, much pace particularly anyway, to be honest. Nunes is quite quick, but excuse me. I like that team. I'd have Alvarez on the bench. I think he needs a rest. I think he looks jaded, and I think it's people disagree with me on this. I think he looks, and I don't know why he would be. I think he looks a bit low on confidence. I think he's maybe seeing comments, hearing the crowd murmuring. He's losing the ball a bit. He's miscontrolling the pass. I just think he needs a game or two out. He'll probably play the FA Cup.
Yeah. No. I agree with that. Okay, so good team, good starting 11.
Thank you.
It's not what I would pick.
Okay, mate. Yeah, let's see. Let's see.
This is the opinion part of the show. So,
yeah,
whilst I really like Oscar Bob, and I think Oscar Bob's got a big future at this football club, and I can't wait to see him play more. I really think in this match, Jeremy Doku is actually the answer. Bournemouth are a team that like to get on the ball, like to attack, and I think that could leave Doku with a bit of space to do some work on that left-hand side. So me personally, I would drop Bob and I would play Doku out on the left-hand side. That's the first change that I have. The other issue that I have, and I don't know what I do with the alternative, is do you really need Kovacic in this team if you've got Rodri and John Stones pushing into midfield? Is that not a bit overkill? Because that, to me, Tone, looks like there's one player that you're looking to create, Foden. It puts an awful lot of pressure on Phil Foden to create, because Kovacic doesn't create anything. Yeah? Stones really doesn't get too many goals or assists. Rodri does, but would he not be further back, given that Kovacic is further forward? It's a concern. I'm not saying that idea of yours stinks. I just have a concern that you're putting a lot of pressure on Phil Foden. The problem that I have with it is, if I don't play Kovacic, well, who's going to play in there? Because I agree with you that Alvarez probably needs a rest. Now, there is a player that you could play in there.
Yeah.
He's not seen him there yet.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I know you're going with.
It's not that player.
Oh.
It's this man.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh.
Now, the best position Oscar Bob has played for Manchester City's academy is in midfield. 100%. Okay. I would battle anyone. Rico Lewis is also an option, by the way, chat, yeah? Oscar Bob is a serious option to play in that midfield. He played there the whole of last year. By far, the best position he's played in the Manchester City academy, Oscar Bob, was when he played in the midfield last year. He had Carlos Borges on the left, had Mabidi on the right. He has played on the right before. He played okay. He's played on the left before in the academy and played okay. But those people that watch academy football will know that his best position, in my opinion, came in that midfield. Now, I also do not, and the chat is right. The chat is correct to raise this. I also don't have a problem. I really don't have a problem with playing Rico Lewis in there. And I think playing Rico Lewis in there gives us a little bit more energy than Kovacic. And probably, I think Rico Lewis is slightly better going forward than Kovacic. And it just gives us a little bit more energy, a little bit more work rate. And then you'd have Rodri, Stones, Rico Lewis, and Foden as your sort of box four midfield. I feel a little bit more comfortable in having that than Kovacic. But to be honest with you, Tone, I'm not that fussed over it. I just have a slight concern that you're putting a lot of pressure on Phil Foden to create. The one that I really would change would be Doku for Bob on the left-hand side. I think, for me personally, I think Doku is perfect for this match.
Yeah, I'm not changing my mind, by the way. Just before anyone gives me flack, because I've been giving it large, saying, "Oh, I'm sticking with it." I'm going to stick with it. I completely see your point. I think Kovacic can provide something going forward. I think we've more seen him as a player who sits when I've ever seen him at Chelsea, but he does have these little flourishes every now and again. In Newcastle, I remember he was running forward, and he loves taking people on 2 or 3 at a time. And one name we really haven't mentioned, or maybe we did briefly, is Nunes. Could Nunes play there? Again, I'm not changing my loan. I'm just saying, could Kovacic come out and Nunes play in there? Because that's who I thought you were going to say. So when I said, "Oh, I know you're going to pick," I was wrong. If you want more of an attacking player, perhaps Nunes gets to go.
Nunes is an option. The problem is, if Bournemouth don't attack us and they sit there, I really just think I don't know what Nunes can offer us, because I really just don't think he's a type of player that can play against a low block in my personal opinion. What you could do, and we've not really seen this too much. I know this sounds stupid, and chat might be like, "What are you on about?" I really wouldn't be against this. I really would not be against that, because we've seen Nunes a lot. We look at the player ratings, we have a look at the heat maps. We've seen Nunes come down this right hand side quite a lot. I honestly wouldn't be against that. Is it ideal? No, but we've got injuries. You know, Gvardiol's out, Kevin De Bruyne's out, Grealish is out. Like, we're not in a perfect world here. We're having to make do with playing players in positions that maybe we don't want. I really wouldn't be against that. Obviously, if you wanted to put Bernardo out there and Nunes in there, that's fine. If Bournemouth actually attack us and try and play football, which I imagine they probably will, having Nunes in there for a bit of more transition play could 100% work. It's just, again, I think with Nunes, no one really knows what's going on with Nunes at the moment in terms of what type of games Pep wants to play him in. It seems a bit strange at the moment. I know he seems happy. You know, I've seen his interview that he done yesterday, and the guy was buzzing. He's like, "Yeah, this is great. Everyone's buzzing all the time. I love it here." You know what I mean? But this guy's not really playing that much football. I'm actually, you know what? The chat's actually, maybe you normally change your mind. I've actually changed my mind. I actually think Rico Lewis in the middle could be a real option. I think that he's probably more suited to this quick style of game than maybe, in my opinion, Kovacic. And he probably helps out a little bit further forward than Kovacic. I really wouldn't be. That would be my team. I'm locking it in. That would be my starting 11.
You said whatever team we pick is good. It's a good team. If I wasn't going to have Kovacic, and for whatever reason he's not available or whatever, in that 11 you've got there, I wouldn't have Lewis in there. I'd have Nunes. But yeah, I like Rico Lewis. He's a talent. I think FA Cup, Rico will very likely start the FA Cup on Tuesday. So I don't see him starting tomorrow. But hey, look, it's all good. But I like Kovacic, mate. I'm a big fan, as you know. So yeah, I'll stick with. And I like Bob out on the left. Give him a go. But if Doku starts, it's all good. He's a top player as well. Really, really happy with the options. Grealish should be back training next week, so that'll have us another option for the United game as well. I doubt he'll make Luton, but he should be available for United, certainly Liverpool. So getting Grealish back as well gives us another option. So where people say not that many options out on the left, we could have Bob, Doku and Grealish all fighting for a spot, which would be lovely.
There was by the way, guys, let us know in the comment section below what you think on the starting 11s there. Before we wrap up, because we're about to end the show, I had a great show last night with Joe. Big up to Joe Butterfield. He came on and we did the Alvarez Doku debate. It was a good debate. So some interesting comments from you guys in the chat and people who left comments down below under the video after the stream. And it was relatively calm. We didn't get too much abuse on the players, which is nice. But a really interesting topic, Jack Grealish. Even last year when we won the treble, Jack Grealish came in for a hell of a lot of stick.
Yeah,
from some City fans. I have noticed this season that a lot of City fans now there are still obviously people who doubt him and don't think he's that good, but I do feel that a lot of people now are starting to recognise what Jack Grealish gives this team. And there's an interesting stat going around that City have only won one game against the Big Six, Man United. That was the only game that Jack Grealish started in. Now, I don't know how much of that is on Jack Grealish and, et cetera, but the evidence is there that when Jack Grealish doesn't play these big games, City don't win the football matches.
Yeah.
What's your take on Grealish? Do you also, are you seeing this as well, that some City fans now are starting to notice what he gives us and how important do you think he's going to be? Because he is good, like you say, he's back in training next week. We've got United coming up on Sunday. We've got Liverpool the week after. And then we got obviously the Brighton game, which is likely to be moved. And then at the end of March, we've got Arsenal at home. We've got Villa as well. 4 absolutely huge football matches. Games that you would imagine that Jack Grealish needs to start in. He's had a tough year with injuries. He's had a tough year with obviously the robbery at his house, personal issue there. He's had the issue that obviously we found out about him when he left training because he wasn't starting. I really feel that when he gets back in training, we need him to dial down because I think he's going to be a really, really important part of this team in the running.
The best way to put it is if there's a big game, he's in my 11. He'll probably be in Pep's 11. I suspect from what you've just said, he would be in your 11. So if there is, and we've got many big games. So every single big game, Grealish starts. And that tells you absolutely everything about Jack Grealish. He is absolutely fundamental. When people were having a go at him, I remember with you on a previous show, there's this Doku Grealish thing. You either like one or the other. I like both of them for different reasons. Grealish is absolutely fundamental to the way we play. Pep says it, so that's enough anyway. But I thought he looked excellent in the Copenhagen away game before he went off injured. I know it was only 20 minutes or whatever it was, but he looked brilliant. We looked so good in that first 20, 25 minutes against Copenhagen when he was on the field. As good as we've looked all season. Why? Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish had the ball as much as anyone in that time, slowed stuff down, brought the ball. I love the way he cuts into midfield, right the way across, splits the opposition up. I can't be any clearer really with Grealish. I think he's a brilliant player. And Liverpool, United, Brighton, Arsenal, Grealish is in my 11 for every single one of his fit.
Yeah, 100%. I was just checking. Last year, Grealish was City's 8th most played player by minutes. 8th.
Wow.
This season, he's dropped down to 13.
Yeah.
Which is quite a drop-off, really. You know what I mean? That's 5 spots. And it also takes him out of the first 11 outside of that first 11. So he's not actually like a one of the main guys, essentially. So he has found it tough this year. There's obviously been a number of reasons for that, which we've obviously already discussed. But that's why the Copenhagen game, man, was such a disappointment because, we'd heard the sort of week before or whatever that Pep Guardiola called him out in the press conference and said he's not been training good enough. And it was obviously a risky strategy for any manager to do that. We've seen, obviously, the perfect example, Ten Hag with Sancho. But it seemed to generate the right response from Grealish. And that Copenhagen game, I completely agree. That first 20 minutes of Copenhagen, we were really, really good. And Grealish was a big part of that. He looked so disappointed, so disappointed when he got the injury, which was a real shame.
Yeah, I had he's not been at the level, and he hasn't been at the level in training and games this season. And then Pep called him out on it a few weeks ago. I think we covered it at the time, and he called Grealish out and said, "No, he's got to be better. He's not playing well enough." Along those lines, I'm paraphrasing. So he is absolutely key. And then he come back, had a brilliant first 20, and now he's back out. But he is back next week. He should be training next week, as I know the news is everywhere around that one. Oh, I've just seen that about Højlund. He's injured, is he?
Yeah, Rasmus Højlund will miss the Manchester. Obviously, he's in some good form at the moment. I think he's scored like 7 in 7 or something like that in the Premier League. But it's just been confirmed. Rasmus Højlund has picked up a muscle injury and he will miss next weekend's Manchester derby football match. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks. So that's quite big, really, because he has actually been doing all right recently. You know what I mean? He scored, like I said, I think he scored like 7 in 7 or 8 in 8 or something like that. He's doing all right at the moment. So
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, he's one of those players that when he scored, he was always going to go on a run. He's a good player. I don't want to say it any more than anyone else. He's not Haaland. I've seen the Sky Sports comparisons. It's ridiculous, but he's a good player, young player. And to be fair, I saw an interview with him recently where he said, "I'm nowhere near Haaland's level. That's the level I want to reach." So he's very, I can't think what the word is there, but he's got his head screwed on, basically. It sounds like, unlike Sancho, who you mentioned just now. But yeah, good player. But and he's a big miss for them. Very, very, very big miss. I don't know what else they've got up there. They've still got Martial. I don't even know.
Martial, bro. I don't know what's going on with that guy, mate. 1 minute he's there, 1 minute he's not, 1 minute he's on loan, 1 minute it's not, 1 minute he's injured, 1 minute it's fit. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they'll do. Probably play McTominay up front. You know, might as well. He's the top goal scorer, I think.
I was going to say, he's bloody... I had him in my fantasy team on the bench for ages, and I forgot. And he's been picking points up. Can't believe it. It's the only bag I have him there, by the way, just to say.
Listen, it's been an interesting one. I genuinely feel that tomorrow's game is absolutely crucial, because if we win that game, the pressure is massive on Arsenal. Because when we went into that Chelsea game last week, and we was all nervous, we was all like, shit, this is a big game. They're going to feel like that. But the difference is, if they lose, they're 5 points off the top, and they don't play Liverpool. That's not a good thing. No. Some people don't get it. People are like, "Oh, yeah, but Arsenal don't play Liverpool. That's good." It's not good when you need them to drop points. You need to have confidence in yourself that you'll beat them if you play them. You're now hoping that other teams will beat them, like City, like other teams. So, this weekend is huge for Arsenal. It's huge for City. We got to focus on ourselves initially, because obviously we've not been great in the last couple of games. You know what I mean? Not scoring enough goals. But let's see how we get on. But yeah, listen, Son, thanks for another great show.
Loved it, mate. Thank you for having me on every week. It's brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you did, please make sure you drop a like on the stream. Obviously, big weekend tomorrow. I'm doing both games on the watch alongs. We'll be doing City versus Bournemouth. 4:30 we'll be live for the pre-match build-up, and then after that game, we've got the player ratings, and of course, the big one: Arsenal versus Newcastle. We might revert back to a pray along. I don't actually know. I'm not 100% sure. Guys, smash a like on the stream. Make sure you are subscribed. If you're watching this back on the replay, give us your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Have a great weekend. Have a great Friday. And I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
Thanks, everyone.